Greetings and God bless. I just wanted to make an observation. When I mention, something about the South, Southern history, even my patriot friends, folks who should know better, everybody's like, yeah, you know, um, like the South was so bad. And on the other hand, there's this double standard. When I watch different travel channels or real estate relocation YouTube channels. They're like, the South is so friendly. The South people are so hospitable. People are just, it's amazing in the South. It's not true. I'm in Arkansas. It's much like being in Portland and New York or something like that. People are people. People are busy. Um, Employees at the grocery store or whatever, they're overworked, they're burnt out, they could care less. They're not here to give you the red carpet treatment. And I really wish, like these travel channels or these real estate channels, I really wish they would stop promoting the South as some sort of customer service mecca that everybody is just so glad to see you and wants to spend time with you and wants to just, smile you up at perfect strangers, because it's just the people are people, and it's February 2024. People are burnt out. Americans have been smacked around and continue to be so, and we really should not expect the South to just like turn the other cheek and like love bomb us when we're at the gas station or the grocery store or the laundromat or something like that. And I really wish all these ignorant people, like, because they're tourists, they're, like this, like Southerners will say, yeah, we're so polite because they're from here, they're friends and family. Of course, you're super nice, maybe, to your friends and family. Of course, you have manners. And yes, the South is known, historically, it culturally, it has manners, but I haven't noticed a difference, nor should I. Nor should I expect a difference. And then on the other hand, um, pretty much everybody is like, "Oh, the South was so bad," and that's a lie. That's a lie. Like the North was just as bad as the South, and probably worse because they're like, "Oh, trying to pretend to be holier than thou." And of course everybody is going to be like, oh, you're wrong. Even like patriots are going to be like, oh, you're wrong. No, just look into it. And you know what, you won't look into it because everybody's so content with who wrote the history, the people who win the war. The psyop war writes the history. So just like everything else, that if you're any sort of truther worth their metal, you've got to understand everything is a lie. Everything is upside down. Everything is the opposite of what we have been told in history. So, anyways, yeah, I'm really sick of this um, false like hype about the South being like the super hospitable place. And why should it? Why should it? Because like what the thing is, entitled people are like, oh, I want to go, I want to be treated like a king when I go into the restaurant, when I go into the grocery store. And that's like a big psychotic virus that we have, all these entitled people. Like I was in a McDonald's at, I don't know, in the evening, probably 10 at night, and this white guy goes in and with a bunch of black people, and the guy is like on some sort of something, and he's like super loud, super like volatile, um and he has no money. Like he doesn't have like a cent to his name. And so one of his friends buys him, and it's like they're watching a TV show or something. I guess he must have taken some sort of crazy new drug or something like that. And it was just a terrible vibe, just like really demonic vibe. And these guys are just like entertained or something. And so one of the black guys bought this guy, like, I don't know, a chicken McNugget or something like that. And he was like, and he wanted it cooked a special way too. So it's like he didn't even spend the money. His friend was buying it for him, and then he was like trying to get like world class service at a McDonald's at 10 o'clock at night. And then he went up to get a sauce, and they were like, it's 39 cents for the sauce. And he like was for like 15 minutes straight, he was ranting about how he shouldn't have to pay, and he didn't, and he was like, I would have, destroyed that front desk. I would have, and that, all those videos we see about people spilling the straws and the napkins and the ketchup. That's why we don't have ketchup at the front anymore. That's why they don't allow us to get our own straws anymore. That's why the counters are completely empty at certain restaurants, like fast food places, because it's like jerky, evil people. And the guy was like, you're paid to serve me. And so this guy had nothing, no money to purchase this. He wanted world-class service. He thought he was entitled to destroy the McDonald's, and he did, like, energetically, like with his ranting and loud yelling and using like epithets. Um, yeah, and the guy was white, and using like N words and like every millisecond and stuff like that. And it's so weird because, and it's his black friends were watching and, thinking it was funny or something. Anyway, so like I think Southerners have bought into this thing that they're guilty for history, and white people, liberals, have as well. I know, like, I just assumed, okay, when some black person does something bad to me, like, I was just like, oh well, I guess, you know history, like, this is what I get for history or something like that. And that's wrong. Like, why should any individual now in 2024 pay for what happened 400 years ago and what might not have even happened? May not even happen as we were told. And I know, like, this is like shocking, it's scandalous, and it's the end of the world for me to even question it. But if you look into it, if you look into who was the first slave owner, who was the first slave owner that insisted slavery was for life, you'll find it was a black person. Who were the people that captured slaves in Africa? Who were the first people? It was black people. It was African people capturing somebody from another tribe and selling them. And then they sold them to the Turks. Who were the Turks? Middle Easterners. And then who bought them from the Middle East? It was Jewish people. So everybody tries to bash white Christians. That's what it is. White traditional conservative Christians apparently were at fault. No, it wasn't. So, but nobody wants to look at it. Everybody wants to be content in their own narrative. Even white conservative Christians don't want to even look at the truth of history. It's so, you get what you pay for being ignorant. But anyways, yeah, like, stop this double standard. Stop this double standard against the South, that the South has to be so special, and that you have to bash the South every chance you get, every conversation you have. That's what's going on. When the South was resisting, why we had the Civil War was because the South was going to be taxed like 70%, taxed without representation. The reason why did we have the War of Independence? Why did we go get independent from England? Because they were trying to tax us without representation. But Britain isn't like, oh, Americans are so bad. Americans are such racist slave owners. No. Even though we rejected, our narrative tells us we rejected England because of that. But the North will never let the South ever, be forgiven for rejecting taxation without representation. And what's going on right now, February 2024? It's like we're getting taxation without representation, money going to Ukraine, money going to Israel, money going to trans LGBT, brainwashing things, not only in our country, but sent to like the Middle East. That's taxation without representation. And there's these growth industries for all sorts of stuff that we're told is good, but the homeless, the mentally ill, the addicted are legion on each street, on each city street. And the government could care less. The state could care less. Cities could care less. All they want is their property taxes to be sent to the Vatican and the Illuminati or something like that. And and everybody's just like, I want to be treated nice by the South. I want to get good customer service by some progressive liberal white lady, because that's what I get. Like, I'm expected to do customer service everywhere I go, because I guess that's how I seem or something like that. And like, you're an adult. Take care of yourself. Like, stop expecting me to pay, or my demographic to pay for whatever you got problems with. And I think, like, people who feel guilty, like unnecessarily guilty, I think they need to stop. Like, you don't have to be especially nice to to make it seem like Southerners are so great. And you don't have to feel guilty about what might have happened or might not have happened 400 years ago. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out. The South isn't what everybody's like hyping it up to be. And the thing is, Southerners, do you really want all these people from the coasts who have destroyed their own city? Do you want them to come to do the same thing to your city, like Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi? So do you really want these LBGT, Marxist, Black Lives Matter, Antifa people moving to your town and brainwashing your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, so they become LBGT, so they get sex changes when they're a toddler? So do you want those people to be teaching your children and telling your kids God is dead, and getting them to go to satanic after-school programs? Literally? Do you want that? So, like, Southerners, you don't want this hype. I mean, if it's true, like, and I haven't seen it, every once in a while I see a nice, if somebody's particularly polite or nice or something like that. But I think that's just a person. I don't think as a culture, I haven't found that when I go to a restaurant or whatever. But Southerners, if you have really great manners or whatever, like, you don't want it to get out. You don't want these toxic, psychotic, satanic city people. And these are people who have money to buy your houses. And that's what, that's the real problem, is these greedy people. Like, I noticed this in the inland Northwest when I was in Montana, and the Great Plains when I was in South Dakota, is people don't want their children to be taught to be trans and gay, because that's what it is. It's this type of programming. And you could teach a child to become a dog or an alien or a tomato. I mean, if you just program, that's the thing about people, is we're very adaptable. So, but these homeowners who would have normally sold, if they weren't so greedy, they would have sold their house, their grandparents' house or whatever, for $50,000. So then that local maintenance guy or the local lawnmower guy or whatever, so they can afford a $50,000 home, right? But no, instead they sell that $50,000 home in South Dakota or whatever for $300,000. And so who's buying that $300,000? It has to be some Silicon Valley type of person. So they're selling it to somebody from California or Oregon or New York or whatever, who has that kind of money. And so that's what you get, who will be teaching your students and, pastoring your churches and stuff like that. I mean, and because it's a seller's market, and people, and I've met Christians who are doing like Airbnb, so they can rent a room during a festival for $300 a day. So these Christians who are blessed with the talents, like with abundance, they're like, well, I've got to make a certain amount of money, so to brag about to my other real estate friends around the country or something like that. And so I think they feel like their responsibility is to make more money rather than allow people to have a place they can afford. And because when you can rent one room out of, like, let's say you have a 3-bedroom apartment and you rent one room for like $300, so it's like you can rent a place for like $1,000 a night when there's like a festival, like some sort of big, gathering. So people can't resist that. And then they complain that there's not enough people working. There's not enough people working because working people can't afford those houses. A working person who's being paid $10 an hour or even $20 an hour, they can't afford a $300,000 home. They can't afford $3,000 in rent. And the nerve of people who are privileged and insulated, the nerve of them is that, well, then that person should get a better education, or that person should get a second job. So if that person gets a better education, then they're competing with white collar people, and they're never going to be working at that gas station that you're complaining about that nobody wants to work at. So it's like you have to have the housing, the resources, the laundromat, the grocery store that works for your working class people. And what I notice more and more is, like, they closed it down, the grocery store that used to be in the downtown area, and they closed it down, the laundromats. It used to be really convenient. And so they're making everything like suburban. So only thing that's downtown are the diamond shops or the boutiques for clothes that fit a size 1, 12-year-old woman looking, And so downtowns are only bars, restaurants, which are like kind of, they get you drunk enough so they don't give you change, or they don't give you the right change, or they expect you to give them a $25 tip for a $20 meal. So, but this is, we're in the end times, the final days. So, it makes sense. God told us this would happen. But anyways, I'm just tired of this hypocrisy and this double standard against the South. And I think, like, Southerners need to stop trying to stop feeling guilty, stop taking this burden that might not even be an accurate depiction of history. And I think white people need to stop as well. And I think, of course, everybody else needs to stop bashing white people or bashing the South. I think, Yankees or, liberals need to stop bashing the South, because it's not what things are not as they seem. If you just bother to look at history, and of course you're not going to. So anyways, and Southerners, you don't want all these people from different cities and coasts moving to your area. You don't want it. You are not equipped for this very, it's a mentally ill but very organized, determined, military, like, warlike thing. They hate you. The liberals hate you, South. The liberals want to destroy and humiliate you. They want to ruin you. They want to desecrate you with glee, with malice. And they won't admit it because it's just because the more moderate folks would reject it, like PETA, the animal protection group, PETA, PETA. I think the former president or one of the vice presidents, he worked for many years with PETA, and he left it because he discovered there was something that wasn't right. and that's how, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So these progressive liberal movements, they become powerful, and they become filled with nice people who are like, oh yeah, I shouldn't eat meat because poor animals, or the wild hooting owl deserves to live more than all these working class lumberjacks, right? Like that's what happens. is so all these working class people. So we got to shut this factory down. So 300 jobs are lost, and it becomes a wasteland in this place in Appalachia or wherever. And that's and yeah. So then all that becomes the the profit of an area is the university or some corporation, like one or two corporations. And so then there's no industry. So there's no like independence. There's no like middle ground for working people, unless it's a gas station or a grocery store or something. And it's really destroyed this country. I think like this environmental, like bashing true progress, bashing industrial progress has really harmed America, because then all the jobs go to China. So China is poisoned or India is poisoned, and then we buy those products that poisoned those people, that killed all those people, and we're like, oh, and even progressive liberals, they're buying their solar stuff, they're buying their electric vehicles, which are built on the backs of child slave labor in Africa. But progressive liberals they ignore it. They couldn't care less, because they're like, I get to virtue signal. I have my electric car, even though little African children scrabbled in the dirt to get me the materials for my EV. It's psychotic. I really think the progressive liberal environmentalist LBGT, the whole the masking, the injections, it is incredible, multi-pronged mental illness. In the South, Southerners, you do not want that. You don't want it, because you are not equipped. You are not like these people. These liberals want to get into your schools. They want to get into your city powers. They want to run your cities. They want to run your schools. They want to take control over you, your life, your electricity, your water supply, your children, your grandchildren. They want to take control of everything, because they think they know better. And they think they know that all your attractive males, that they're gay and they should go be gay. And that the other males should be transsexual, and that the females should be gay or transsexual. Like, that's what these folks think. And there may be some more moderate folks who are like, well, you should just kind of live and let live. And I think those more moderate people are the majority. And I think that's the way it is for conservatives or whatever. And then when the moderate people are the silent majority, and you guys, the silent majority, are why we're in such a mess. Where you guys didn't say, hey, this trans thing doesn't work, this gay thing doesn't work. A gay priest or a gay pastor of a Baptist church or whatever, a Christian church, that's not right. A trans pastor is not right. A female pastor is not right. It's just because it's what the Bible says. It's not personal. It's what the Bible says. So, anyways, South, like, don't be manipulated by human stuff and guilt and, and if you notice liberals starting to move in, you need to get involved in your school meetings. You need to get involved in your city. Maybe start doing it now, because what they do, what these communist, Marxist, Bolsheviks, Satanists, they've been working on places, from what I could tell, for like the past 40 years, maybe longer. Like places in the heartland, like South Dakota or Montana. That was my experience. And so it's like, you can't just like wait for them to start putting child porn in your children's library, in your children's school library. You can't wait until the child porn is there, because it's really hard to get it out. And because if you look up online, there's these explicit like child porn books that are in the children's, like the kindergarten reading section. And parents aren't even allowed to show or read these obscene books that are put in front of children at the school. Like school boards shut down parents showing or reading those books. But those books are supposed to be available to your first grader or something like that. It's disgusting. And it's so wrong, and it's so hypocritical. It's so sordid and evil and obscene. And so you don't want to let this in. And I have liberal friends who would probably be shocked at me to say this, but they're not following the news. They couldn't care less. They don't even think it's real. What I'm talking about, even if I showed them the video, they won't look at it. I mean, even some of my patriot friends, my conservative friends, don't even want to know what's going on anymore because it's so bad. And I have other friends who are like, I've just never followed politics. And I think that's part of the problem, because when you don't see it, you don't look for it, you don't notice it, and so you don't say anything. And then all of a sudden it's there, and you're taking your grandchild home from their sex change operation, and you're like, how did this happen? So anyway, I just wanted to share some thoughts. So thanks for watching. God bless.